live.
And the preseason is gone. Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in on To The Point with
Yep.
and the King. Oh, man. Today we have something special for you guys. We have the one only Kirk Alfaro.
Yes,
I
sir.
like to call the Captain Kirk. He's from the Hoopla Report. You guys make sure to go check his page out. Go look at all his stuff. He's very informative. And make sure you click subscribe. Like how you're going to click subscribe on our show today. So welcome to The Point. Now, let's get right into this because, you know, we are To The Point and we don't play around. Kirk, I got to ask you something, man. After this preseason, now that the preseason's over, now that it's in our past. Sorry, I don't want to sound like Game 4 crying in the shower. Do you have a player from your Toronto Raptors that stood out this preseason for you?
Yeah, well, there were several, definitely, but one in particular. And because I've been highly critical of his play and like a staunch supporter of trading him for a couple of years now, I have to give credit to OG Anunoby for his place so far in the preseason. I saw an engaged OG playing up to his ability on both ends of the floor. He stood out not just for a basket or two, but for the whole time he was on the floor and doing things besides scoring. You know, he looked like he wanted to be out there. It looked like he was having fun. Okay, he is supposed to stand out when he's playing against guys who might not even be on the roster come regular season. Let's face it. But he stood out, and that was positive to see. Because if he would have just been mediocre and not stood out, that would have raised red flags for me. So of course I understand this is just a preseason. The jury for me on this guy is still out. Can he do it for 82 games? Can he be named to the All-NBA team? Can he do it for 42 games or however many games they play before the All-Star game players are named? Can he do it? Can he become an All-Star for the first time? But whether 42 or 82, it's all about consistency. Offensively, he's got to bring it night in, night out, and defensively as well. You know, I don't care what OG fanatics and Raptor homers have to say about his defense. OG is not an elite NBA defender until he makes the All-NBA defensive team. A lot of people mention his potential. You know, I'm kind of sick of talking about this guy's potential. Dude is in his 5th year. He's a veteran. Okay, like I've mentioned many times before in Raptor discussion boards, you get that potential tag coming out of high school, college, maybe your first or second year in the league. But anything after that, reaching your potential is just a hope and a prayer. And that's what it's been like for OG for the past 3 or 4 years. To keep things in perspective, or to put them in perspective.
Put it on a prayer.
Yeah.
Go on.
Matisse Thybulle was named to the NBA All-Defensive Team, and he was drafted 2 seasons after OG, you know. But somehow, some way, you know, to Raptor homers, OG's an elite defender. I always said he could be, you know, but if he wants to bring it night in, night out, and again, the jury's still low for me. This preseason, 2 little things that kind of raised little red flags was, one, it's just a preseason. Yeah, he had a great preseason, but the stars weren't playing. You know, what's OG going to do when guys like Jimmy Butler are on him, or he's got to play them, or Leonard, you know, these type of play, or even a level lower, Jason Tatum. Can he play like this when he's got to play against guys like that? That is a big question, you know. And speaking of Tatum, brings me to my second concern, and it's OG's mental fortitude. And if you watch closely, and you would have seen OG against Boston, I know for sure, and Houston, you know, he's being all chummy and all smiley with Jason Tatum, and I think it was Green or Porter Jr. in the Houston game. You know, I do not like that. OG strikes me as the type of guy that, you know, if you go to the Y, whatever, things start to get tough, things get chippy, he's the guy that goes guys, relax. It's just a game. And, instead of rising to the challenge and, meeting the aggression, but that's who OG is, unfortunately. He doesn't play with a chip on his shoulder. I don't think I've ever seen him angry. But in saying that, he did play extremely well. But the question is, of course, can he do it 82 games playing against star players, which requires a strong mental fortitude. And we'll see if the OG Anunoby, that one that we all expected for the past couple of years, we can finally roll out the red carpet for him. If he brings it night in, night out, Pascal doing his thing, well, everyone for that matter on the team. I have no problem seeing the Raptors capable of being a fourth, fifth seed. But if he doesn't, we need to trade him, man. And, fast because he's not that guy.
Wow. All right.
Oh my God.
That's how I feel. And that's how I feel.
You can feel however you want. Did you watch our last video about OG and the Raptors organization? Okay, but before we get into that one, Skip, I gotta ask you, my man, which player stood out to you?
Well, first
during this one, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna go with the Robert Mishevic on this one.
Yeah. So I've got some things to say about OG. I was the guy who went on last episode and slammed OG, but I gotta take umbrage with a few things you just said. But we'll get to that a bit later. For now,
we will. Oh yeah, we will.
For now, my guy, I gotta shout out Scottie Barnes. I think Scottie Barnes really showed us a lot of who he can be this preseason. I think he really stepped up and kind of established that I think right from the get-go, he's going to be an important player for this Raptors team. He's not going to be a guy that has to start working his way up slowly. He's going to be, I think, front and center from day one. I think he might even be in the starting lineup on game one with Pascal out. I think we really saw how he fits in with the rest of the roster pieces. I think what jumped out most of all was the assists. There was one game he had 9 assists. His numbers for the whole preseason: 5 assists, 5 rebounds a game. I think it was 9 points.
9.8. Yeah, close.
10 points. 10 points. Yeah,
10 points.
Yeah, 9.8. So 9.8, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Really, what showed up was his playmaking. I think he's not dominant, but he can be the guy who handles the ball for this team. I think that's what I realized more.
Most definitely.
At the very beginning of the preseason, I was sort of saying, well, oh boy, like Fred VanVleet's going to have to step up. Goran Dragic is going to have to fill Lowry's shoes. And we kind of saw how this team can play that quote unquote positionless brand of basketball, which to me, it's a bit overstated because I don't know if it's really positionlessness so much as guys playing their strengths instead of their positions. So if you have a smaller guy who's a shooter, he's playing a quote-unquote point guard position, but he's acting as a 2 or a 3. Scottie Barnes, a bigger body, but a better playmaker. Precious, maybe a more mobile player. OG, maybe playing a little center. But based on what I saw this preseason, the starting lineup I can't wait to see is one featuring Scottie Barnes, ball handling, spraying the ball out to Goran Dragic, VanVleet on the wings, and then Precious inside, and then OG also handling the ball. And that, to me, that's a really dynamic starting lineup, and I think Scottie has shown that he belongs there. Maybe he will go back to the bench at some point in the season, but honestly, I could see this guy starting from day one. He looks NBA ready. He looks like a player that's honestly deserved to go fourth, if not higher. And a lot of people are saying like Jalen Suggs is having a tough preseason. I would remind you that it is preseason, and we shouldn't take too many notes from preseason. I'll remember last year.
Oh, don't tell Robert that.
Well, remember last year, Malachi Flynn played LaMelo Ball in preseason, and we were all going crazy. It's like, oh man, we got a steal at 21, and yeah, look how that worked out. So let's not get way ahead of ourselves on the Scottie Barnes hype train. But I think between what he did in summer league and what he did in preseason, this guy looks NBA ready, and he's going to get a real chance to prove himself right from day one.
Yes, sir.
So is that who you stood out to you?
Yeah, Scottie Barnes.
Because I gotta tell you who.
I mean, there's lots of other people, but like that's my guy. That's my guy.
Right. Yeah, there were a lot of people that stood out, but for me, the most was OG Anunoby. I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, people. People, you just said it right there, Skip. People that don't play ball. People that pretend to play ball.
Where are we going with this?
Yeah, what was
I am taking shots at your ambassador, okay? Because I gotta tell you guys, I watched the preseason. After the fourth game during Houston, I couldn't get through the third quarter, through the fourth quarter, because all I gotta hear about is some guy sitting there with the headset on going, look at my jacket and look at the heart that I got drawn in my head. Ha. Yeah. This guy turned around and said his uncle was broke. Shut up. Your uncle is Larry Graham Central Station, played for Sly and the Family Stone. Shut up. Your father played for Jerry Lee Lewis. Shut up. I don't want to hear about that. If you started from the bottom, then I started from mid-earth, like I'm like a Lord of the Rings character or something like that. It was absolutely disgusting. I couldn't watch that game, to be quite honest with you guys. Once that your ambassador came on and started talking, he wasn't talking about the game. The game went from here to there to back and forth, and all he's talking about is his jacket and talking about how he's going to put Justin Champagne into a song. And speaking of Justin Champagne, yeah, I like the way that kid plays, man. He might have had a little bit too many turnovers this season so far, just for the preseason. He might have had a little bit. I got to give props because, Skip, I've been on record, and I said this with you and Andrew Reese. Shout out to the Reese Report. I did say that, to me, he is the Japanese version of Dennis Rodman. He's cordial.
Utah.
But
Utah you're talking about.
Yeah. Utah's been my guy. Let me tell you something. Like, you guys, you know I love him so much. But I did see a progression for the Raptors' future with Precious Achiuwa. I said it right this time.
Yeah, that's the other guy I was going to bring up.
I like what he's doing in the middle, being the big down there. He can take over for Kevin Birch, but he might not be the biggest, but he can do the job, and he can do the job effectively. And he's only been in the league for 2 years, so let's see where he could progress within the Raptors organization from there. Not to mention, oh my goodness, Svi Mykhailiuk.
Svi and Precious were my number 3 and number 4 picks on this list. I went with Scottie and OG because
Svi is absolutely amazing to me. His shooting was great. Okay. Utah's energy is absolutely amazing. Justin Champagne filling in the holes, just doing what he has to do as a ball player. Precious being the big man, and not to mention, let's get into this. Oh my goodness, Robert, this one goes out to you. Scottie Barnes with his court vision and all of those assists during this preseason. That was absolutely amazing. So I have to ask you guys, as a team, as a collective, Toronto Raptors organization and the squad that they're putting out there. Skip, I'm gonna actually, you know what, Kirk, I'm gonna ask you first. What do you think they did for the squad? Do you see promise?
With the new players that are coming on the team?
Yes, I just mentioned all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a young core. I mean, you name it. It's all about, to me, it's like who wants the minutes that Lowry and the scoring that Lowry just left behind, and who wants to be sixth man of the year? Who wants to be the person coming off the bench? Skip mentioned that Dragic, you'd like to see him starting. Yeah, that would be nice. I never thought about that. I always thought about him coming off the bench because, I mean, he played very well with Miami playing off the bench. And I think Miami, there was rumors that he was snubbed for the sixth man of the year award, or at least
maybe
to
a
be
few
named.
years back. I don't remember which year that was, but yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
like,
AP, that's reporters doing all that. They got the clout, whatever.
but the young guys, I'm excited about, man. Like, you can't get any more excited than what's happening. I mean, they got a young core. They can all play. They're all eager to play. Even guys like Mykhailiuk. I mean, that guy's a playmaker. He's a creator, and that was what really surprised me about that guy. Watching him in the preseason, it's just I didn't know anything about him really, to be perfectly honest. But when I saw him, I'm like, wow, okay, that's good, man. This guy coming off the bench is going to provide like an instant spark on a lot of games you watch.
Yeah, I thought Svi, he really showed out. He was a little inconsistent, and that's kind of been his rap his whole career on Svi, is that he's not that consistent. And even in the games that he played, you'd see him like come in and have an instant spark, and then a couple of minutes later he'd start turning the ball over or something. Mm-hmm. So I think he definitely earned, of all the new guys, I think he's the one that stood out the most, and the guy that I think will get the first crack at those minutes and that job. Mm-hmm. But I still project him as being more of a 9th, 10th type of guy. I don't think he's like someone who's going to be featured on this team. I think he's just going to be that guy who, while guys are out, he's going to get some run. I think he's going to make some good plays. He looked exciting, but he looked exciting to me in the way that a backup looks exciting, not in a way that like this guy's going to be a future star, which is sort of what I see in Scottie and OG. And the third guy on my list, I didn't get to him yet, but Precious. I think we got to talk about Precious. I think he came into camp, and I don't know if this is going to change once Kem Birch gets healthy, but I think he came into camp and he won the starting job at the center position. I think he played.
How do you lead the team with 8.8 rebounds, 8.6 actually? Sorry, my bad, and 2 steals a game?
Yeah,
like.
But it's not even about the rebounding was great, but like it's not even about that. It's this guy was hitting pull-up jumpers. This guy was hitting threes. He's never hit a 3 before in his life. He's hitting threes in the preseason, and he's looking smooth with the ball. Like, and he's playing pretty good defense. He doesn't really look like a center. He looks more like a 4 to me, but that's fine. Like he's playing the position and he's holding it down. And obviously he's going to struggle against really big guys. I don't think he can guard an Embiid or something like that. But
Embiid,
I think
Drummond, Davis.
I think he came into camp, and I think he secured that job. Maybe not secured, but I think he earned a shot at that job. And as this guy who's, again, like he's second year in the league, he's only, I think, 22, 21 maybe.
Yep.
That's where you start to see like, oh, this is a projectable guy where you can see where he could be a high level player, as opposed to a Svi or a Utah where you get excited about these guys, but it's just like, yeah, maybe he's an NBA player. Like that's different than being like maybe he's a star. That's a totally different conversation. So I think those 4 guys stood out. I think if you go up and down the roster, there's a lot of things you can look at. Goran Dragic and Fred VanVleet, I think they both had kind of inconsistent preseasons. I'm not super concerned about either one. No. Especially VanVleet. I think VanVleet will be fine once he gets into his role, once he gets into the...
They're vets. They're vets. Once the season starts...
I'm a little worried that Dragic might be a little more washed up than we think. But again, it's only a couple games.
Or maybe adapting to the system. But...
He could be a shooter, even if he's not sort of that point guard that we thought he was going to be replacing Lowry. If he's just a shooter who can eat up some good minutes. I think you start to go up and down this roster, and I think they have their 8 guys figured out. I think their 8 guys are VanVleet, Dragic, Trent, Barnes, OG, Pascal, Birch, and Precious. That's 8 guys right there.
And Boucher. Yeah. Don't forget Boucher.
And Boucher, there's a 9th. So like once Boucher gets healthy.
Boucher.
Yeah. I think they know that they're guys. I think this preseason really locked in some things for us. And obviously the end of the roster guys were a bit of a mixed bag, but that's what you get in preseason. I don't think we should stress about even Justin Champagny or Sam Decker going off with 18 points, like whatever. These things don't matter that much in the long run, but the key to this preseason was locking in those 8 guys. And I think I feel more confident going into the season than I did going into the preseason. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, you said okay, so now I want to ask you guys, because as of this recording, we found out Freddie Gillespie and who else got cut?
Reggie Perry.
Okay. So who is next on the list? Is it going to be Sam Decker? Is it going to be Gary Trent?
Skip and I were actually talking about this, and maybe his 18 points in that. How many minutes was it, Skip?
It was like a
Crazy.
flurry in 4 minutes. I don't know. I don't know what it ended up being. Yeah,
that's insane. But I don't know. Skip's saying that maybe that could have saved him, but. Who knows? You know, I'm like with Skip, man. It's all about the first, the 8 guys. You know, those are going to be the majority of the guys that are taking over, and it's going to be very interesting to see what we do because we are playing a small ball, and we saw what Drummond did to us. We saw what who was the last player that we just Harrell. You know, he had how many dunks did he have? Right? So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays. But I heard on your one of your earlier podcasts, Rob saying something about that Nick Nurse just wants to outscore them. He doesn't even care about how small they are because they're just going to outscore.
It doesn't matter what happens on the defensive end as long as we do it on the offensive end.
And that could very well work. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens this season. I'm excited about it because it's just fun ball. Like when you talk about small ball, you're talking fast and exciting and scoring, right? So it's going to be interesting. I love it. I'm really excited.
I'm stoked too, my man. Okay, so thank you very much, Kirk, for your insight. It's a pleasure having you on the show, man. I really hope your platform grows on the Hoopla Report. Your homeboy, I didn't catch his name, the guy with the Vikings, because I'm a Vikings fan. I would love to connect with him. Maybe you could hook that up. But I do have a question. I have a couple questions for you guys. Just a little bit of trivia. Just a little something. So during this preseason, who was the leader in rebounds for the Raptors?
In rebounds? Ooh.
No cheating.
Yeah, I did already. So, but it's unbelievable that he only played one game. Like it's Watanabe. Rebounds,
no,
right?
Precious.
Was it Precious? Oh yes, you're right. It is Precious. 8.6. Right.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Scottie Barnes was 4th at 4.8. By the way.
You know who was a surprisingly good rebounder? Justin Champagny.
Who?
I didn't think he was rebounding very well when I was watching him.
5.8.
But
that's very
he's way
true.
up there. He's way up there, yeah.
What's he at? Quiet 5.6 rebounds.
But guys, before we sign out, assist was actually Scottie Barnes at 5.6. Like Robert said, he can see the court. He does have very good court vision. He's made me a believer. The minutes, Scottie Barnes actually has the most minutes. But can I ask you guys, who has the most blocks for the Raptors during this preseason?
Let me think about that one.
No cheating.
I want to say Barnes.
No.
I think it's gonna be.
Next. Skip.
I'm thinking about people.
I know Utah had 2. I know Utah had 2 in one game in his own game.
But he only played one game.
Yeah.
Bingo! Utah has 2.0.
All right.
But
he didn't lead in total blocks. He led in one game.
He led average wise. That's all I'm asking. Okay. So guys, this was a great conversation. Kirk, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Nothing but the best for you. We're gonna have you back on. Hopefully, maybe we can come on your show. This has been nothing but a pleasure for myself and Skip. So you guys know where to go find him. The Hoopla Report, Kirk Alfaro. You guys know where to find us. Go down there, click subscribe, do something like that. Go click subscribe on his show. Let us know what you think. Leave some juicy comments. Let's have a little bit of fun, okay? The Raptors season is coming up. So on behalf of Kirk, Simon, myself, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
peace.